Today we're going to be talking about 5 things that derail people's retirements and the lies that they tell themselves when they're approaching retirement and planning for retirement. We're going to be covering these 5 things. Some of these could be a little surprising to you, but stay until the end because there's a light at the end of the tunnel. We're going to be talking about that light at the end of the tunnel. And always please remember to put those thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us out, but let's get right into it. What a lot of people don't have a grip on is how much they're actually spending. And especially now that we're past all this inflation that's had come about through the pandemic, a lot of times that people will save, and if you're saving automatically, that works great. If you're giving automatically to churches and charities, that works great. So whatever you save is yours to keep, and whatever you give comes back to you tenfold. But most people spend more than they think they're spending, so we want to put a cushion in there. So have that cushion, make sure that you have your safety net. Sometimes expenses get out of hand. You may have an unprofitable business, too many toys. You want to reassess and rework the budget when that happens. And just don't let things get out of hand. Sometimes it's better to have a safety net. Sometimes it's better to have that emergency fund set aside to help you through. And the older you get, the more emergency fund you need, because the less time you have to save, the less time you have to rebound. And so you want to make sure you have that emergency fund set up for yourself. So, and when you're spending, think about what is it that's really bringing you joy? What is it that you're doing that may be a little frivolous? Maybe like me, you bought a boat a while back and you don't spend as much time in the boat as you think you should. And sometimes it's just the simple things like a walk in the park, a time down by the playground, time spending with the kids and grandkids, time spending growing closer to your spouse that makes all the difference. Working in the yard, being close to nature, all those things don't cost a ton. Traveling may cost a little bit, but that traveling can build experiences and things, and those things can be good memories for the future, and they may not cost quite as much as you think. It's all the toys that you buy and all the things that you accumulate that really don't make much difference. And so we want to watch out for, number 2, we want to watch out for the debt and the leverage. Some people believe that if they build up their credit rating, that's a good thing, or they get all these reward points and all this money back, that's a good thing. But sometimes people get too far ahead of themselves and they don't realize how much they're spending, because it's easy to do on a credit card. And when you do these easy things on a credit card, instead of paying that off every month, instead of building up that nest egg, building up that emergency fund, that can really eat away at you. And there's things as good debt and bad debt. The good debt is going to be debt that you put to build a house or buy a house because the house value can go up faster than the rate on the debt. If you take out a home equity loan to do something, is it going to bring more back than what you're spending to pay on the debt? If you're building a business, are you taking on debt to build the business? That could be good as long as the business pays for itself. Also, if you're taking on debt to go to college, sometimes people encourage their kids to take out a student loan, and that may be doing them a disservice, because not always does that student loan pay for itself right away. If they're learning how to work and they're learning how to be a productive member of society while they're taking on a little debt, maybe that's okay. But if they're learning how to pay for things as they go, they're learning a much more valuable lesson than taking on student debt to go to school. And I would encourage people to save up the money for a car, save up the money to go to school, save up the money to do most things, rather than going into debt to do that. Because as we mentioned before, you can take on debt to do things that'll grow and build, or you can take on debt to do things that aren't going to pay you back. And we want to take on debt that doesn't cost that much. And of course, credit card debt is extremely costly. It costs in the double digits, sometimes 20 or 30%, and that's insane. You're not guaranteed to make 20 or 30% on what you're investing. There's very few ways to take on debt on credit cards and invest that to make more. Usually people are taking on debt by spending, and that really eats them alive. So we want to encourage people not to take on too much debt. Don't go into too much leverage. We see a lot of professional investors that get a little bit more confident than they should be and take on a lot of leverage. You can lose a lot in a short period of time. You can even lose it all in a short period of time. And so taking on too much leverage can really hurt you. A lot of times people get into situations where they don't know what they don't know, and they're not aware of all the things that it could impact them. And when we're talking about blind spots, a lot of people weren't anticipating the inflation we've seen over the last few years. Some people don't anticipate tax increases, and we're almost guaranteed to have a tax increase after 2025, and these tax increases can really eat us up if we don't plan for them. And so what we want to do is think about these blind spots. We want to think about taxes and planning for taxes and being prepared for taxes. A lot of people lie to themselves and say, I don't need to worry about taxes and these taxes aren't going to impact me. But when you save and invest, sometimes people are saving and investing without thinking about the taxes, and that taxes end up taking about 20 to 40% or more of their money of what they make. So why not think about saving in a better way that saves taxes, saving in a way where you get to keep a lot of this instead of a lot of it going to the tax man. And so that's a lot of what we like to do, is show people how they can save taxes over time by utilizing things where they can defer taxes or put things in things that are going to be tax-free. I know we've talked about qualified charitable distributions in the past. We've talked about Roth conversions. We talked about the Roth contributions, other ways to save tax-free, ways to be able to defer capital gains tax. With this tax that's maybe coming up on unrealized capital gains, we're going to have to figure out other ways, but hopefully that won't come about. We won't have this unrealized capital gains tax, which could be really nasty. But what we can do right now is defer a lot of capital gains. We can do a lot to get tax deductions and tax credits, and to the extent we're taking advantage of that, we come out way ahead. It works out a lot better than just making an extra % or two or saving a %, or so on expenses or something like that. Saving on taxes makes a huge difference, much more of a difference than a lot of people realize. But other blind spots that come about are going to include things like early demise. Somebody might pass away sooner. You might lose a spouse. So being prepared for that is going to be good. Being prepared, again, for the inflation is going to be good. Being prepared for, saying, losing a job or being disabled, or even living longer than you expected to, is going to be good. So we want to make sure we're prepared for all those things. But we also got to realize that we want to be healthy. And so some people would say, I'm going to make money now and think about being healthy later. But wealth without health doesn't do you any good. You want to be healthy before you're wealthy, and then to be healthy while you're wealthy. Because if you're not healthy, your wealth isn't going to do you any good because you can't enjoy it. Matthew 18:8 says, if your hand or your foot causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. It's better for you to enter life maimed or crippled than to have 2 hands or 2 feet and be thrown into the lake of fire. If you're eating too much, rid the pantry of all those unhealthy things. If you're drinking too much, rid your liquor cabinet of all those things. If you're taking on too much debt, cut up those credit cards. Get rid of those credit card numbers, because getting rid of it completely is better than saying I can handle this and then having it get out of hand. And always remember that we can't get 100% certainty in life. You got to enjoy life now. When you get to 60, there's about 1,000 weeks left of healthy living that you have to live. On average, some people get lucky and they lived healthy for a long time and they stay healthy. Some people aren't so lucky. So be sure to be able to plan to be able to retire earlier. And don't be afraid to retire. Some people want to think that they can only retire when they have 100% certainty that things are going to work out. We run numbers on this. There is no such thing as 100%. We might get to 99.6, but I think 95% is good enough. When you get to 95%, you're pretty good. Now you can run these stress tests and show that, oh wow, if this happens, I'm down to 30%, look to shore that up. But if you're at 95%, you're in pretty good shape. Whenever you take a trip on an airplane, the pilot puts in the flight plan. Very rarely does the flight stay on the flight plan. You have to take course corrections. When you're in a game, you have a game plan. When you're business, you have a business plan. but people always call audibles, they always take course corrections, they're always changing the plan because these things come up. There may be opportunities available to you that you didn't see, and that's a good thing. God may put something in your path that's a good thing. A lot of what we do with some clients is share with them, hey, you can afford to have more fun, you can afford to spend more. It doesn't have to be a situation where you die and you leave all this money to your kids. You can have fun now, you can do more now, you can enjoy your life now while you're healthy, and don't put off that time to enjoy life. Don't be so frugal that you're not able to enjoy all the fruits of your labor that you've worked so hard for so many years to save. So a lot of people worry a lot more than they really need to. Why not have more faith in what you've done to prepare yourself for retirement? Have more faith in the plan. Have more faith that God will see you through this. The birds do not worry. The fish in the sea don't worry. And God will care much more for us than the birds and the fish of the sea. And we can't ever have 100% certainty. It may be that we encounter some ailments, some physical illnesses, a lot of medical expenses that may derail things, but that's what we prepare for, and that's when we call audibles and change the course and make those course corrections, because those are the things that we can do. And it's those things that people worry about that hold them back. Take time to plan, take time to think through, look at all the blind spots. But when it's time to retire, don't be afraid to retire, because you've earned the right to be able to retire and enjoy yourself, enjoy your healthy years, and we can make the most of it. Thank you.